The conflict between Russia and Georgian forces has pretty much dropped off the radar, especially as the world financial crisis has taken centre stage.
For the latest in this part of the world, we're joined in the studio by Russia enthusiast and freelance journalist Tim Byrnes, an Australian who's recently spent some time embedded with Russian forces. Tim, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. Why? Why did you embark on this?
I basically have been studying Russian military history for about 8 years. And in that 8 years I've lived in Russia for 4 years. My particular focus was the Battle of Stalingrad. And look, when the conflict broke out, I was surprised that Georgian and Russians would be actually fighting with each other, because culturally they're all they call each other brothers. So I mean, and with the Western media, I was a little bit I thought, I need to go over there and find out for myself. And having lived in Russia, I was able to get in with the right people, I suppose, with connections and things like that. So I approached the Russian embassy in Canberra, and they were most cooperative, and I got a visa, and off I went.
Of all conflicts in world history,
yes,
and of all areas in the world, why Russia, and why Russian military history?
Just a fascination with it. I guess the sacrifice of it all, the scale of Russia's conflicts, especially the Second World War. I mean, estimates are that they lost 28 million people. I mean, that's over the population of Australia. So that was my original fascination, and I just had to get over there and get to the bottom of the Russian view.
So before you left, what was your reading of the conflict as opposed to what you saw when you got on the ground?
I think Russia has not been given a fair go. I mean, a war is an ugly thing, and actually the civilian population of South Ossetia actually welcomed the Russian forces into, and that actually hasn't been reported. And when Georgian forces actually went into the city, there for 3 days they were actually murdering the civilian population, and that has not been reported.
There'd be people who would say, well, you're embedded with the Russian forces, you would say that, wouldn't you? How would you respond to that?
I would say that Russia had nothing to hide, and I had absolute freedom to go where I wanted, ask what I want. I mean, you had to be a bit careful.
Sure.
The Russian army is soldiers, so you had to be a bit sensitive with what you asked, and taking pictures and things like that.
But what was their reception of you? How did they react to your presence?
At first, very suspicious. They feel that the Western media has betrayed Russia as this big bad aggressor. So there was quite a bit of suspicion, but once you wore that down, they were quite friendly and relaxed with you.
In the portrayal of the Russian side, and their activities and their attitudes and actions, was it a bit still, in terms of the Western media, still a bit of a hangover from the Cold War days?
I think so. Yes, yes. There is a bit of a lot of anti-American feeling across Russia, and they feel that the United States is trying to, build bases and things across. So there is a bit of that old Cold War feeling happening, yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Tim, what do you plan to do in terms of what you've brought back from your trip? What do you plan to do with it?
Well, I plan to write up a few stories and hopefully get my experiences out, and then I'm looking at actually going back to Russia.
You've got the bug.
Yes, yes. Oh, I love the place. It's fantastic.
As you stand back, notwithstanding what your perspective is on either side, is there something about war and conflict, seeing it so close, that kind of stirs you more than before you went?
It was very moving, yes. Yes. I think seeing, well, especially going to the hospitals and seeing, refugee camps and really seeing what war is. I think it was a rush, and I feel that now I need to go back and follow it through. Yes. On the progress of the people and how they're rebuilding their lives.
Under slightly better conditions this time, hopefully.
Yes, I hope so. Yes.
All right, yes. Tim Byrnes, good to talk. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks very much.
There's been a major development this morning in the case of the missing Australian woman Brit Lapthorne, who disappeared in Croatia.
The son of a hostel owner in Dubrovnik has been taken into custody over her disappearance. Joining us now from Dubrovnik is Nine Network reporter James Talia. James, what are the circumstances surrounding this latest move then?
Well, Lee, as you said, this is the man whose parents own the hostel where Brit Lapthorne was staying. He spent last night in custody, and now, as we speak, he's spending another night in custody. Police have not yet declared that he is a suspect, but only a few hours ago they took him while they searched the hostel. They searched several rooms and also a vehicle that was out front. To all intents and purposes, they appear to be treating him as though he's a suspect, even though they won't say that out loud.
Okay, so is it likely to shed any more light on the whereabouts of Brit Lapthorne then?
Well, that's a big question, Sharon, isn't it? At this stage, it's hard to tell. They may let him go at any time. They may charge him if they feel that he's been involved in her disappearance in some way. That's the thing that right now we're attempting to judge here, and it's very difficult. There was, of course, such a delay in the police moving on this case after Brit disappeared, and there is a chance, I guess, that they are now doing this for show. It would seem that the 33-year-old son of the hostel owners is a fairly obvious target for this kind of treatment, for them to be seen to be doing something. Or, on the other hand, he may well have been involved. That's something that we can't judge at the moment. We're just going to have to wait and see.
James, has there been any explanation for the delay in the police investigation into this?
No, there hasn't. I think it's as simple as the fact that Dubrovnik is really a small place. While it's very well known, the population of Dubrovnik is only 45,000 people, and it has the police force in terms of numbers and expertise to match, and I think they probably underestimated what was going on and moved too slowly. They've now brought in one of the most senior homicide detectives in the country from the capital, Zagreb, who's now running the investigation, and they have some 100 officers involved. But as we all know, in a missing persons case, the first